Well, I guess let's go ahead and get started. I appreciate you guys for jumping on. And Brett, I appreciate you for being our guest interviewee today and kind of sharing your perspective. So before we get started, we're going to have everybody introduce themselves like normal. Part of this is the community meetup, right? It is a community collaboration. And the reason that we're having these stories, these inspirational shares, is so that people can see that businesses are pivoting, they're moving forward, they're reinventing themselves, and there's other people advocating for them and sharing those ideas. So the entire Open We Stand movement is driven to kind of help build off of that. And that's why we have these meetups. So I'll go ahead and start. I'm moderator today. My name is Adam Griggs. I'm the co-founder of Clarify, which is a tech platform that communicates for small businesses and their advisors. And then Rachel, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? And then Jesse and Jonathan?
Yeah, sure. Rachel McCool from GoDaddy. Been at the company for 5 years. Managed community programs. Really happy to be here today and hear from Brett. Brett and I've talked before, and huge fan. So, and again, thank you, Adam, for running this.
And I'm Jesse Wilson. I'm also a community manager with Rachel at GoDaddy. I've been with GoDaddy since 2009. Most of that time was within our customer care organization. But I'm here today to hear what Brett, who I've not met before, but now have, has to say. And yay.
And my name is Jonathan. Again, apologies about my video, but I work on the brand team as an engagement manager. So I do everything from engagement strategy to talking to customers to escalating things to building out content plans. And these meetups have been absolutely incredible during this time. And it's been awesome to be able to hear from so many different people, and they just keep getting better and better. So Brett, I'm so excited that you're here today. Grateful that you're taking this time to chat with us. I'm really looking forward to it. You can't see it, but there's excitement on my face.
Nice. Cool. Well, I'll just introduce myself, and it's awesome to be here. Awesome to be a part of the Open We Stand community on LinkedIn, and appreciate the intros that Rachel and Jesse, you guys have both given me over the last couple of months. My name is Brett Farmiloe. I'm the founder and CEO of Markitors. We're an SEO company for small business. And the exciting part of my life is a couple of weeks ago, we launched a platform called Turkle, and Turkle creates community-driven content that features expert insights. And so we've gotten a lot of really great insights from people in the Open We Stand community. So excited to dive in, talk about that today as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to hear from you. I'm probably a little too excited about this because I know a little bit about your backstory. And before we get started, I just kind of want to share a little bit of insight that was somewhat inspirational before we jumped on this. My 6-year-old is a little musician. He likes to sing all the time, no matter what's going on, no matter how busy the day is, he just belts it out. And so today he's walking up and down the hall right before this meeting, singing the Greatest Showman, A Million Dreams. And normally I just kind of tune him out a little bit, because it's Eli, it's pretty frequent. But the lyrics to that song made me really think, because in the song, they talk about 1 million dreams is all it's going to take to create a new world, right? And what you do and what your background is, Brett, is to bring perspective and visibility to people. And I just loved that was what he was singing right before we got on here to start talking about, your journey to creating, your brand at Markitors and your new product. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you got there.
Yeah, sounds like your 6-year-old and my 7-year-old would get along because you know how it is working from home with kids. But yeah, in terms of backgrounds, I'll back it all the way up to when I was graduating from the University of Arizona with an accounting degree way back in 2006. And when I was coming out, I read this stat that said half the American workforce doesn't like what they do for a living. And, when you're a soon-to-be graduate, that hits you pretty hard in terms of thinking about your future for, one of the first times. And so I came up with this idea to travel around the country in an RV to interview people about their career paths and document their career paths on a website for other college students to learn about. And so I bought an RV off of Craigslist, lined up with all these interviews from people around the country. I recruited a couple friends and hit the road, and this really janky RV that we had bought from Tucson. RV broke down expectedly, and we kind of like haphazard put together this trip in 2006. I went to go work as a corporate auditor because, again, I had majored in accounting and I had accepted a job before graduation. And then a funny thing happened probably like 2-3 months into that job. I started getting inquiries through our website. People had actually read these interviews and were getting inspired by them, and were offering up people to interview, you know, when we came through Minneapolis, or a cousin to stay with when we went through Nashville, things like that. So again, community, like, you know, community support when you're doing something interesting. And so I started to hatch plans to go back on the road the next summer, because was just really inspired by the inspiration that was happening from other people, and also getting very exposed to what happens when you're good at SEO. Like, I had stumbled across this thing that organic search really helps connect some of the online endeavors with offline experiences. So hatched the idea to come out with another road trip. Spent a lot of months searching for a corporate sponsor. Had extreme failures, had a lot of no's. Probably the best story that I have is trying to get on Pimp My Ride with MTV, and trying to pull up the RV into that, and made it to the final round before the producer came in, who happened to go to Arizona State University, and we had a big U of A flag in the back, and that did not bode well for us. And he said, "You guys have a good ride home." But we ended up getting a corporate sponsor, lined up another RV trip, interviewed another 300 people, ended up and actually made it across without breaking down too many times. Wrote a book about it, and that kind of is the background that has really inspired me and has set a good foundation for career endeavors since then. Because, you know, as I mentioned, the community aspect is big, but the SEO aspect was enlightening. And more importantly, the thing that I learned from all of those interviews is that we really don't have too many outlets or opportunities to share our life accumulations. Like, we spend so much time getting expertise in certain areas, and no one really comes along and gives us an opportunity to share that stuff. And so that's why what was interesting to me, looking back 13, 14 years later, is why the heck did like 300 people, ranging from CEOs to goat farmers and everyone in between, spend an hour of their time sharing all of this insight with 4 random college kids? And it's because a lot of people just don't get that opportunity. Like, and so, you know, getting people here on this show, it's like, oh, I can actually share this, and I don't have that opportunity that often, which feels good, and really sets the stage for, you know, why we launched Turkle, and so we could get into that if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I just love your journey. I got to go back to the fact that you're a college kid, and you're looking at your career path, and instead of doing what most college kids do, which is just kind of look at the career and kind of fine tune what the income is and what the parameters are to get the job, you went out in an RV with friends and interviewed hundreds of people on their perspectives, and you shared that rather than just keeping it, internalizing it. And that empowered you to make a decision about your career, and it empowered other people to kind of make shifts and decisions, which I think is valuable. You're active in the LinkedIn community with Open We Stand by allowing people to get themselves published and stuff. And I love that's your passion, and that your career kind of took that turn. I love the story of you guys going in the RV and break it down. Not the story about the ASU guy telling you no. That's kind of sad. I'm a U of A fan, so I align with that. But you did get out there. And as a young kid, when people are sharing their insights and perspectives, that has a lot more of an impact than people know. And I think that's what probably excited those individuals, is they had the opportunity to shed light on their industry and their passion and their vision. And again, we go back to that million dreams thing, right? If you can't share your dreams and your vision, and you're withholding that, then it's never going to come to light. And maybe the person you share it with is going to give you some perspective and insight. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about, you know, you said it was called Turkle.
Yep. Yeah.
Say about that.
So yeah, with Turkle, so going back to the million dreams thing, like we all have passions, we all have dreams, but getting started is really hard. Like getting that first momentum and putting something into motion that's the definition of a startup. And that's why so many startups are hard, is because it's just you in your daughter's bedroom in a house. And you're like, where do I go? How do I get this thing going? And so I experience that every day at Marketors. Like for the last 10 years, I've ran an SEO company. And if you Google digital marketing company, that phrase, we've pretty consistently over the last 5 years ranked on the first page of Google for that term. And so I've spoken with over 1,000 small business owners with these million dreams and have talked to them about, what stage they're at in their business. And we turn away probably 90% of the leads that come to us. So 9 out of 10 people will turn away because they need, in order to be successful with SEO, you have to have a certain level of domain authority to outrank competitors for certain keywords. And when you're just starting out with a new website, you don't have that domain authority. So I always say, hey, go build some online credibility. And once you have that solid foundation, now you will be able to develop a positive ROI from an SEO campaign. And so if we're turning away 90% of the leads, eventually I just got tired of telling people no and not being helpful. And so that's why we launched Turkle, is because building online credibility is really hard. And the idea is that if we create community-driven content featuring expert insights, then people can just sign up for Turkle, answer questions, share their expertise, get published in order to build that credibility. And so the way that it works is brands will give us questions for our community to answer. We'll pose those questions to creators like us where we could share our insights. And once we share our insights, those get published on a variety of different partners that come to us. And so to date, over the last few months, we've published over 250 different community-driven articles on over 50 different partner sites featuring insights from over 1,000 people. And so this all started just with a simple type form where we post a type form out to some of our clients and some of our friends and some people that we knew. And eventually it's gone into a full-fledged platform now with its own brand and its own name, and it's turkle.io if you wanted to check it out.
That's cool. I like that you went a step further. You saw another problem area with the clients that you were dealing with, and you decided that there was some availability to help solve that problem. You didn't just stop. And I think that's what's creative about the world that we live in, is the opportunity to kind of change people's lives by seeing the challenge, looking at it from different angles and learning how to overcome that, and then sharing that. I mean, it sounds like that's what you've built over there. And I just love that. I think that coming out of 2020, there was, the initial hit on the year was hard for people. And it's continued to be hard. There's no doubt about that. But there are people that are ready and willing to live their renaissance, their new life, and their challenge is to start a new business. And to do that, getting told no quite often hurts, right? That's the biggest obstacle, is coming over our own pride and rejection. You giving them the capability and the platform to find a community that can help them be credible first and challenge their dreams and chase that, that's going to allow a revolution of new entrepreneurs to come out and start new businesses that are going to impact their community. And I love that.
I'll tell you a quick story from the road. It kind of goes back to the 2020 and this notion of the word no and things like that. So it happened at a rural goat farm in Tennessee. We randomly got invited to go out here to this goat farm, and they raised fainting goats at this farm. There's like 80, 100 of these fainting goats. And if you don't know what a fainting goat is, go to YouTube, type in fainting goat, and you'll see hilarious videos of people who chase these goats and they actually faint. They basically get a dose of fear and adrenaline, and they can't move their limbs. And sometimes there's hilarious YouTube videos where they fall over. And so we tested this theory when we were there, and we're like, no way, these goats actually faint. And one of my buddies chases one, and sure enough, it's hilarious. Goat gets, and they're not hurt. Like, I should clarify that. They just get a dose of adrenaline and they can't move their legs, and they sometimes fall over. What was unique about this is that while my buddy was chasing these fainting goats, there was like baby fainting goats by my leg that were like nestling up against us and whatever. And I was like, why don't the babies faint? Like, why aren't they scared? And basically the rancher was like, well, they haven't learned fear yet. And to me, there's something really to that. And that has completely changed my life, which is, it's really stupid to say, or it sounds stupid when I'll say it, but I try to channel my baby fainting goat every day to like not let fear creep in and to paralyze you from continuing on in that journey. So the more that you can try to like block out the learned fear that has come as a result of just living life and accumulating all these experiences, and the more powerful that you are, right? So like if you are here in 2020 and you've got told no, 200 times for a certain idea, like the hardest battle that you're fighting is yourself, not the people who are, you're trying to get saying yes to. So I think that's like inspirational for some people to think about is, how do you channel that baby fainting goat? How do you block out fear, and how do you just keep going?
Okay, I'm going to, now that you just made my day, channeling my baby fainting goat. And I want to meet them someday too. That's awesome.
It
And
really
by
is.
the way, it was interesting what you were just mentioning about the 200 rejections. I was thinking as you were talking about how actors are like that. Like I've read so many stories of actors who just keep getting rejected after, and they keep going. And I sit and go, that's amazing, because it's really hard to get rejected, right? But like if you just know something that you really, really, really want and you just keep going for it, ultimately you're going to get it.
Yeah, and at the same time, you've got to be very adaptive too, because otherwise you're just crazy. Like if you just continue to do the stuff that isn't working, you've got to be able to be open to that perspective and understand, like, why did you say no? Like, what did I miss there? Was the approach wrong? Am I talking to the wrong person? Is the idea off? Do I need to switch around some words? So it's like having a dose of fearlessness, but also a dose of reality to try to find that fit of what you're looking for. So no, but I'm with you, Rachel. Like if you've read all of those actor stories, that road trip that we took, we just heard that we were so fortunate to hear that 3 times a day from people in all different types of stories that are totally uncelebrated. It's there's a lot of glamour towards the actors and the screenwriters and the people who have this awesome Hollywood story of making it. But then there's also people who just like, went to own a 7-Eleven or something like that, or did something that doesn't make headlines that is equally cool and inspiring.
Yeah, I grew up around farmers, and, talk about heroes. They get up really early in the morning, especially if they have, milk cows, and, and they're doing it at 7 o'clock at night too, and just super hard workers, but really dedicated to the work that they do. And that's the kind of, like, talk about salt of the earth type people, really good people would definitely give you pretty much anything off their farm. And that was, growing up, that was a great example for me to see, just people, these, doing the hard work, what it takes to do what you're passionate about.
And I think that goes so closely back to that fainting, the fainting baby goats is, like when I'm on, if I have no interest in launching a business, but if I were, and I were to go to my social media channels and I were to look up, like, how do I do this? What do I do? And I also didn't have like my resources at GoDaddy, stuff like that. I'd see like the Gary V's and the people who are all about, this is how you make your first million. This is how you do, this is how much you have to have saved XYZ. And there are so many people who have ambitions to build businesses, but their goal, their finish line is not, I need to be a millionaire. I need to build a business so I can sell it by the time I'm 30 and XYZ. There are a lot of people who just want to have a successful and fulfilling life. And it's really incredible to hear that this, again, I go back to this fainting goat thing, is this idea that there are people who don't, I would be so afraid to start a business if I thought that no matter what I wanted to do, I had to make millions of dollars. So those had to be my ambitions. It's so nice to think about people who are able to just look at their business and their dreams and think, you know what, this isn't, and Rachel, to your point earlier about actors, it's like, this is not about getting it right on the first try or the second try. It's about getting it right when it's ready. Getting it right when it's ready and when people are ready to receive it. And this really struck with me. This really struck a chord.
Yeah, This is a great discussion. I just got to say, I mean, first of all, not everybody is going to start a business. Jonathan, you were exactly right. Some people are there to advocate and elevate others. And oftentimes our own personal judgment on that success is the fear that's holding us back. And it's not the fear that we won't succeed. It's the fear that we're not going to succeed at the level that these superstars do, right? And so what Brett's got is the availability to create a human connection and make these examples of these business owners and these experts look like a normal community. It's just, they're regular people, and they're not scary people and intimidating winners that don't want to talk to you, or they're just too busy. They're living the life, they have a family, and they're balancing it. And I think that's important. I think that's going to be very important as we move forward. And Brett, I appreciate that, man. I have an unreasonable fear of goats, by the way. I have a hobby farm. My wife wants goats, but I will not get a goat because when I was a child, I was a little bit like Dennis the Menace. I was in foster care, and we were running around. Shouldn't have been. And we decided to go pick on a goat. And we jumped into this barbed wire fence and went to mess with the thing. And it acted like it didn't care until it did. And by the time it cared, I was the only one left. And my friends thought it was hilarious that they left me in there. And I slashed my entire arm open going back through the barbed wire fence away from the goat. So yeah, the inner baby goat thing I can jive with. A regular fainting goat, I'd be the one that faints.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story for sure.
That is a wow story. Although, like, I kind of feel like now you definitely should get a goat to like overcome your fear. And maybe get a fainting goat or something.
I'll second that. I'll challenge you. Face the fears.
Gotta make sure my wife's not listening right now.
That's awesome. I actually would really like a goat, but as goats are famous for like eating everything that's like in their path, I would worry that, well, first of all, I live in a city, but secondly, I wouldn't have anything left in my yard.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of like, thinking about the Open We Stand in 2020 and things like that, like, I just think that, man, it's rough. There's some people that, I'll just make the point that if, Jonathan, you mentioned, starting a business isn't in the cards. I've always thought that especially when unemployment gets as high as it is, that starting a business actually might be easier than finding a job, in terms of it's the same kind of process that is taking place, where first you got to commit to the path and give it a fair shot at it, where if you're looking at the amount of opportunities that exist from a job perspective, you're applying, you're getting rejected, you might not get any answers, which is very similar to selling a product or like getting your first dollar in for a service that people could pay for. And so if anyone's listening to this, for what it's worth, I think that if you've tried this route of, okay, I'm going to go apply for jobs, I'm going to get employment, nothing wrong with that route. And I think that that's the route that traditionally people feel pretty comfortable with. And that's obviously the objective, because you have other considerations. But starting a business too right now, I don't think that there's been a better time to start a business. Yes, people are a little more conscious with the dollars that they're spending, and things are tough. But I think it's almost tougher on the employment side of things, because unemployment rates are so high and so competitive. So for what it's worth, I'll throw that out there too, that it's the same process. And I think it's just a shift of mentality, that instead of selling yourself and selling your resume, you're selling a product or a service to meet that end objective of getting someone to say yes.
Totally. I think that it's spot on. It's, circumstance changes everything, and personal situation changes everything. And it's so hard, I've got friends right now in high academia who have, they've been working on their PhDs for years and years and years. And now they've got them, and there's nothing. There's no one that's hiring. Obviously one friend has a PhD in public health, and she didn't have a problem. But a lot of other ones, like these, education sectors, scholarly sectors, like there is entrepreneurs in particular, and what you said earlier about this being the best time, is entrepreneurs take it upon themselves to build opportunity. And this is a time to do that, right? This is a time where people have been faced with a make or break it. And so many people have risen to that occasion and have done such a thing like that. And to have a service like yours, which is what I just love that you're a helper, because we have so many tools and services and blog posts that we put out to try and help people get their website going. You know, we can write as many blog posts as we want, but there are certain things that people need to grow on their own, like their, you know, this web credibility and building those, you know, building that up, and to have someone who can help them with it, to show them these parts of their business that they don't even know they need. Right? Like you don't think about those little things. You don't think about those nuances in your business where it goes, okay, I want to launch this, but now I've got to be online, and now I've got to figure out how to make this work for me. Like it's such an important service that you provide, and the fact that you recognized it is such such an accomplishment in itself. I bet there are a lot of people who are very grateful for you.
Yeah, I guess I don't hear it that often, but you know what? I'll just share, like, you know, for again, going back to that comment about it's scary to start a business, like it's really scary to do what we're doing right now. Like for me personally, I'll just open up to you guys. Like it's pretty scary. Like I just made 2 job offers to developers this week, you know, full-time job offers. And it's not like we have revenue that's coming in from this product yet. And it's just a belief that, hey, if we are able to create content that truly features expert insights, then we could create a really valuable platform and service for people, not just for charity and for building online credibility, but there's some real gaps that we could fill with this. You know, from a business opportunity perspective, one of the coolest things that we found in this journey is that 15% of search queries that go to Google every day are ones that they've never seen before, which means that a lot of these search queries are coming up empty in terms of having real content to satisfy the needs of a searcher. And so if you know, there's a few billion searches that happen on Google every day, and for them to admit that 15% of those searches are brand new, you basically have 150 million content opportunities every single day of people who are asking questions that don't have legitimate answers. And so from a market opportunity standpoint, I just feel like the content creation aspect of it is endless. And in order to satisfy that that level of content creation that's needed to satisfy people's curiosities, like you need to involve community to satisfy that. Where if you're able to create community-driven content that is truly high quality, then the publisher wins because they're satisfying their content gaps. The panelist or the person who's contributing wins because they can build their online credibility, and then the search engines wins because now they have less and less of a percentage that goes unanswered, or they shorten that gap between having that question asked and then having a good answer to then go in there. So I'm most excited about that, but it's pretty scary to do it. Like, you know, I think that even tracking back and sharing the story a little bit of what the summer's been like, the only reason why we got here, you know, I mentioned that we started with the Typeform, but the University of Arizona reached out saying that they had 20 master's students that all had their internships rescinded for the summer, and would we consider, you know, any kind of interns? And so I looked at all the resumes and I'm like, well, these people are super talented and have incredible experience. Like, we need to create opportunities for these people. So that was a big leap of faith to just say, hey, we're going to extend 3 internship offers that are paid for developers to start building this platform. And so the whole, I guess, the commonality, the point of this conversation is developing momentum and starting somewhere and putting something into motion, and how long that traditionally takes before you, Rachel, you get to the Hollywood story of an actor making it. Like the average overnight success story, I've heard a quote, takes about 17 years. And so I feel like I'm maybe like 5-6 years away from actually seeing like real success with an idea like this.
That was I like that, the overnight success, 17 years. It's and that's real. I mean, you look up in the skies, you know, the stars aren't there alone. They're there together, and they're gathered together. And what you're creating is a community of people that are going to shine and show an example of their commitment to their business and their vision. So it might take a while, but if people understand and onboard themselves first, because they got to have that confidence, right? You got to take that gut decision and build the confidence. And then they find somebody like you, Brett, that can help them build an online, visibility or online confidence level even further and engage that community, that just perpetuates their vision. It gives them the momentum and allows them to take stride and take risk like what you're doing. You found a gap in a service area because you had people that were constantly looking for help and you just couldn't help yet. And you took a risk. You decided to come out with a new product and now you're hiring developers, and that is going to balance and build up the economy regardless of outcome of anything. I mean, this 2020 has been a crazy year. And I just love that your story has motion, and thank you for the vulnerability in your share there. It's really scary right now to take risk, and knowing that you do that and you're helping new businesses get started, you're sharing the same perspective, and I think that that's powerful. That again,
Yeah, as you were talking, I was going to say that either I go broke with a good story or I stay satisfied with a little cash. And you know what? Like sometimes your life it calls for it affords the ability to create a great story even if you do go broke with it. So it's like going broke in fiscally responsible ways, which with the accounting degree that I've got, fortunately, spreadsheets kind of control my life. And so you allot a certain amount where you're able to go broke on. And then if you end up with a great story to build from, then I feel like that's more valuable than not taking the step in the first place.
And life's all about experience, and you're just giving people the opportunity to have those experiences. So, keep channeling that inner baby goat, keep building. I kind of want to open it up. We're kind of at the end of our hour here, and I want to be considerate of everybody's time. I want to open it up for any comments or questions that you guys might have for Brett before we call it close.
Yeah, I'm going to have to jump, but Brett, I love all of what you're doing. Keep going, and even if it doesn't work out, you are going to learn a lot, and you can potentially pivot it towards something else. So I know in my career I've had lots of stops and starts, and I look at it all builds upon each other. So thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah, and thank you for the intro to this community and being a part of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, good to see you. All right, you guys.
I have a question. So I always like to ask about how things are named, and so the name of your service, I don't even know how to spell it, but I'd like to know how you came to that.
Sure. So Terkel is spelled Terkel, and the inspiration for it is Studs Terkel. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Studs Terkel, but big. So if you look him up, for many, many decades, he spent his whole life essentially interviewing people about their perspectives. And he wrote about 20 books that are all oral history driven. Everything from his most famous book was called Working. And that's how I first got turned on to him, is because everywhere that I went in the RV, people were like, "Oh, you're Studs Terkel. Like you're doing what Studs did, 30 years ago." But when you look up Studs, he passed away in 2008. When you look him up, a lot of his credit, if you were to sum up his whole life, was giving voice to America's uncelebrated. And so I couldn't have thought of a better word or meaning behind Terkel, because that's really what we're doing. Is Adam, you mentioned how easy thought leadership is for people who have that momentum already established and have the $1 million+ business and things like that. But what about us? Like, what about the people who really do truly have unique insights to share, but don't get those opportunities? So, the grand vision for Terkel for us is to democratize thought leadership. And I think that, giving voice to the uncelebrated is an excellent aspiration to go for.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good question. You could ask that to anybody and get a good answer.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think it always shines a little light on the person and like how they think. And like I always, for me, it's like kids' names. Why did you name your kid that? But anything, even like Twitter handles. Like why did you pick that? Anyway.
Yeah. Marketers, just while we're on the topic, is the combination of two words, marketing auditors, which, you know, is a blend between my two passions with being a corporate auditor and then marketing. So, and the domain name was available. Thank you, GoDaddy.
Nice.
Those are good questions. I was wondering the same. So Jesse, thank you for asking that. That's fantastic. Jonathan, did you want to ask Brett anything before we let him go?
No, I am all set. I'm so grateful that you took the time to chat with us, and I think you've got a really incredible business here, and I will be rooting for you.
Sweet. Appreciate the support, and yeah, it was good good being on with you guys today.
Yeah, it's super valuable story, super awesome insights. I love what you've got going on with both Markitors and Turkle. Brett, everything you're doing is great. Continue to perpetuate the American dream for so many. I love the advocacy and I love the community. So thank you, and thank you for participating.
Yeah, no pressure with that outro. I'll end it on just go get the goat, get with the wife and face the fears and have a good time in Ohio on the farm.
Lordy, we'll see. Well, I appreciate it.
All right, see you guys.
All right, appreciate you guys.